Here we go. Here we go. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Talks with Tanya. As usual, you know how it goes. We've got to get make sure that I am broadcasting, make sure that I am broadcasting live here. And got to do what we have to do. Come on in the room. Come on in. When you arrive, come make sure that you say hi to me so that I know that you are here. Make sure. Okay, looks like we are. Looks like we are live. I like to see it myself on the network. So give me just a moment to make sure that we are live. All right. I believe that. Let me just check one more place. I know you'll bear with me, because sometimes I had some issues yesterday broadcasting. All right, so I know that I am live here. All right, I know that I am live here. Okay, and then I just want to check one more place. I appreciate your patience, y'all, but you know how this goes. And soon, because I have the vision, I'm going to have a producer that will be taking care of all of this, and I won't need to do it myself, right? I want you to make sure that you go ahead and say hi. Let me know. Let me know that you're watching. All right. Let me know where you're joining us from, because we have folks from across the state. If you're in the state of Delaware, let me know where in the state of Delaware you are. And if you are from out of state, let me know where you are joining from. Today's guest, I'm really excited to have. All right, here we go. We're on. All right. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me on Talks with Tanya. My name is Tanya Bain, and I am your host for Talks with Tanya. The name of my company is Tanya Inspires. I really love to educate and inform with information that is impactful. I love to make connections and share that information, because I believe, and I know this to be true, when we're able to do that, the information that we share often leads to lives being healed, and we're able to move closer and closer to whole life success. So this has been a pretty busy couple of weeks, and particularly over the past week. And I have been, and I said this yesterday, I'm exhausted. All right, I'm more mentally exhausted. I really go from having moments of, moving, kind of business as usual, and looking to things that, what it is that I need to share so that you guys can stay informed. In handling the business of making sure, as a media person, I want to make sure that you get the information that you need, that I help you get connected, and that I help you get your questions answered. And so it's been, busy with that. But then I moved to a point where I am really, there's just no other way to say it. Well, there probably is, but this is mild. I'm really pissed off. I'm really pissed off that it took this, okay, in order to get the attention that should have been given, and the acknowledgement that should have been given. and we're at a point now where why did it take George Floyd in order to set the awakening? Why did it take that? So that's just kind of a constant question that I have in my mind. This has been going on for years and years and years. I believe there's a two-way accountability. All right, I believe there's an accountability on our part as people of color, as citizens. Okay, that we haven't lifted our voices, we haven't used the power and the leverage that we do have in order to break down the system, the institutions that have prevailed and prevailed for hundreds of years. And I understand that it was a trigger, and it was necessary. But we need to ask ourselves, I believe, why did it take this? I also want to point out, and I'm going to ask our guest who's going to come up real shortly, why is it that all of a sudden there's some people on the bandwagon saying what people want to hear when their track records indicate otherwise? So why is it specifically for our town in the city of Wilmington that all of a sudden, we have access to, $800,000 for body cams when the cause was still the same, the issue was still the same, but it took, this type of attention, literally tension and attention for, for that consideration to be made. Why is it from Dover that all of a sudden, people are coming up and speaking up and showing up at places and saying what needs to be said, okay, when they had all this other time to say that? So I am making that point for you to consider when it's time to pull the lever or push the button or write in the paper or send your email, consider what someone's record has been. All right? Because just saying the right thing right now does not mean that's what it is that you mean. Just saying the right thing right now in front of a crowd of people doesn't mean that that's what it is that you believe. Because if that had been the case, all right, even if you were outnumbered, all right, you still would have a track record of having spoken up. So I just ask you to consider, look at the track record of some of the folks that are all of a sudden on the bandwagon. All right, why is it that you've made the change? And is it really a sustainable change? So I'm not saying that people can't change, but someone's track record is something that said, was it Maya Angelou who said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. It's very easy to Google, okay, what someone's track record is on certain causes, all right? Studies on what's going on in the state of Delaware and many other states, are on the books. Look and see who supported it, okay? Understand what someone's platform is by what it is that they have done, not what it is that they are saying. So that was just on my spirit. And, yesterday I was on with State Representative Sherry Dorsey Walker and Alicia Clark, who is she's the person that people don't necessarily want to hear from when she shows up, the legislatures and in the community. She's a voice for us, a strategist, okay, who's really helping support moving our causes. But why is it that the studies that went out and information that went out about the discriminationary practices within the state of Delaware, okay, are all of a sudden, going to be addressed when it wasn't addressed before, when we were placated before? So I'm just urging you to ask those questions. Do your research, all right? Listen to the voices, watch the actions of those who it is that you have elected, you have selected to represent you. All right. So let me just tell you something. I am going to bring on our guest. All right. Let me bring my guest up from the green room. I know. Ajavon, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I appreciate it. I know, you are a mover and a shaker. I know over the past, you're always out and about, but particularly over the past week, you have, made it your business. And I'm going to say this, it's not just something you just started doing.
Thank you.
It's not just something you've started doing, because for many years, I have seen you, okay, at events large and small. Now, that's something to be said. So it didn't matter if it was, on a street corner, all right, on 4th Street, okay,
Yep.
or if it was the ballroom, all right, up on Philadelphia Pike, all right, if it was in City Hall, okay, or if it was in the lawn in Dover, or on the streets in Middletown, okay.
Wow, you're bringing back memories.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And that's the kind of track record that I'm talking about, okay. That's what I'm talking about, when you have, put in the work and demonstrated what your commitment is. So let me just let me just share with some of our viewers a little bit more about you. Aja, and I love this because what you have demonstrated is that you are a servant leader.
Thank you.
A servant leader. You don't find there's nothing too small for you to do. There's nothing too small for you to do. You're concerned about, the mothers, particularly the fathers. You're concerned about helping people come to an understanding. You're concerned about bridging the gaps. All right. And you've been doing that for a long time. So you have a track record of getting results. Some people would call you an activist. And I would agree. I think that's a marvelous thing. Hey, Faith Parker. Hey, Jackie. Hey. Welcome. Yes. And you have a skill, all right, for building. Yep. You have a skill for building consensus. Yes. All right. And for you, what you have demonstrated is that it doesn't matter what the issue is. You want the right thing to happen and the best thing to happen for those involved. Mm-hmm. So Aja, as she is commonly called by her family and friends, is a mother, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a community activist, an adjunct professor, and a mediator. Mm-hmm. You have spearheaded many ventures to empower our community, to provide sound solutions. And that's what I like, solutions, all right, to many of our social issues. Being a professor is something you're giving back to our students and preparing them, to fill in the gap. Yesterday, we talked about sustainability. And our professors and teachers are the ones who are able to really give us the learning that we need, expose us to the learning that we need in order to be successful.
Mhm.
You're a mediator at a volunteer mediator at the Delaware Center for Justice. And more than ever, what you have demonstrated are the values of integrity, um, hard to come by, honesty, commitment, transparency, equity, equality. You stand up for social justice reform in the community, diversity, inclusion, and public policy. I'm
Mhm.
just going to put a period at the end of that sentence, because if people can't understand that, okay, I think they're the ones that need to check themselves. So again, welcome. I know you just came back from Middletown, from
Mhm.
one of the many Black Lives Matters demonstrations that
Mhm.
we have had. And I'm really appreciative of you coming in and spending some time with us. But the first thing that I want to talk about, because it's just kind of taken a little bit of a backseat, is COVID-19. Tell us about what's going on in the community, what you have found, and what it is that we need to do to make sure that we are, doing the things that need to be done in order to keep ourselves safe and healthy.
Well, first of all, thank you, Tanya, for inviting me here on this wonderful platform. I'm really appreciative of you. I mean, you have really done your homework. I mean, you're saying things that, God, I've been in this work for over 20 years and we've crossed paths so many times. So I really thank you. Um, COVID-19, as I call it, I say she is, I always call
Mm-hmm.
it, refer to COVID-19 as she. She came in with vengeance, right?
Yes.
We have to be mindful of the fact that it's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
Even though sanctions has been lifted by the government, that we can go back to our businesses and not our normal lives we led previously, but we could try and start getting involved in certain things now, with the lifting of phase one, and now we're moving on to phase two. But
Mm-hmm.
people still need to be mindful the virus is still alive and well.
Yes.
Wearing your mask when you're outside among people is very important. Making sure that when you get back in your home, you're washing your hands. We don't push the glove stuff, but I would still encourage people to wear their gloves. And if you don't wear gloves and you use hand sanitizer, wash your hands with soap and water when you get in. There are several testing and screening sites throughout Newcastle County. Very important. I try to put that out on my information blog when I put it out on Facebook, just to give people information about where the various screening sites are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're unaware of where they are, it's listed on the Newcastle County website. You can go on there. I know Newcastle County is having several places where they're doing a screening. And I think it's this Friday. There's another one coming up at an elementary school. But I would encourage you to go on there and test and check it out. Another thing, please, I think people need to be also mindful of the fact that, if you feel, if you're still, there's still symptoms, if you're feeling nauseous, having headache, feverish, you need to call your primary care doctor, and they would then test you. If you're positive, they would admit you into the hospital, but that's the first place you still need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our hospitals here are doing a wonderful job in eliminating, the cases. I'm not really sure, and what where our numbers are today, because I haven't looked at it. I got
Mm-hmm.
so busy with the March, but I think it's important that we check that out all the time. Is I think the website is covid19.gov. Delaware COVID-19.gov. So they can go on there and check and see where the numbers are, and perhaps check and see if there's any testing sites within their areas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we have to be, like I said, we have to be very mindful. The virus is still out there. It's not gone. There's no vaccine yet. So you still have to be prepared. Get
Mm-hmm.
gloves, get masks, hand sanitizer. Um, if you have Lysol, if you have disinfectant, use it. Wash your hands all the time. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
very important. So, yes, I mean, we still got to be careful. I mean, I just lost an aunt last week to COVID
Oh, I'm
19.
so sorry.
So, yeah, so, thank you. But, it's real.
It's real.
It's real.
It is. We
Mhm.
have questions. I love questions for the audience. So, do we know what they're doing with the screening data? So, when they're screening people, what's happening with the data?
I think they're collecting it, and that's how they're able to come up with the numbers that they're coming up with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's helping the governor make his decision whether to open the state fully or go in phases. Because if the data that they're collecting is showing that the infectious disease or people who are being infected by the coronavirus is decreasing, then that's
Mm-hmm.
going to determine whether he's going to open the phases quicker. If it's increasing, then he's going to slow down the phases.
Right.
So I believe that's what they're using the data for. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not really sure, but I would hope that would be one of the reasons why, in
Right.
order to not to put people in harm and just do what they have to do. So
Right.
yeah.
I did for Delaware. I did pull the cases, and this was yesterday.
Hmm.
In the state of Delaware, as of yesterday, we had 9,773 cases total, and of those, there were 388 new cases.
Okay.
So the question is, do you think we may have a second wave?
I believe so. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of things, and let me go back to those cases that you're talking about. The reason why our numbers are increasing because we're doing more testing, we're doing more
Exactly.
screening. So in
Mm-hmm.
order to get those numbers doesn't mean that they're infected and that they're dying, right? Because people are like, oh my God, we have all those cases and all those people are infected, and then we go outside, we're going to get infected. No, that's just it only means that we're testing more people. So they have the virus. Now, at what level of that
Mm-hmm.
infection, we don't know, but
Right.
they have the symptoms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's good that the numbers are increasing because I mean in a way that they're doing more testing,
Right.
and they're finding out. So we're not putting out there, they're not putting their us in harm's way,
Right.
right? So people should look at it that way, that it is increasing because the number of testing is increasing, but we don't know at what level or what strand of virus that is. That could be,
Right.
you might have a symptom. So if you have one of the symptoms, like maybe if you're coughing a lot, that's a symptom, right? If you're experiencing shortness of breath, that's part of the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that you have to be hospitalized? Does that mean you have to be taken as a patient that is infected where you might lose your life? I don't know that. Only a doctor can
Right.
say that. But at least they're taking the first precaution to make sure they test us
Right.
and then go to the next step. So yes, definitely. As
Yeah.
far as it being a second strand, I believe so. According to what I've heard and read, that the colder weather brings about, that type of symptoms like the coughing, the wheezing, the shortness of breath, just like the flu. The flu, we always have two strands of flu, right? I mean, two different types of flu during the year, spring and fall and
Right.
winter. Actually, spring and winter is when the flu
Uh-huh.
really pops up. So yeah, so I'm expecting it to come up again, but hopefully when it does come back, we're
Mm-hmm.
more prepared,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because now we know we have to wear masks, we know we have to wash our hands and use hand or use hand sanitizer or gloves. So we're more prepared now. So we have less casualties than we did in the beginning when this
In the
first.
beginning. So, and this is something that sore throat, pain, fever, okay, shortness of breath. Absolutely. Thank you. Hey, Miss B Baylor from Texas. All
What part of
right.
Texas?
Yes, yes, yes. Oh my God. She's a great mentor to me. She's a great mentor to me. Um, yes. Okay. We're going to get to your question, Faith. Okay. My girl, Faith. Faith and I were neighbors. What?
I love Faith.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Wonderful family. But I
Oh, God.
want to make up this. I want to make this point. Okay. So there's more testing. Unless, your head is in the sand, we do know that there are a disproportionate number of cases that, come into our communities of color.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And this kind of lends itself to, I believe, one of the reasons why you're running for Newcastle County Executive.
Absolutely.
The type of
Council
healthcare.
President. Council
Yes.
President.
Council President. Thank you. We done gave, girl.
They gave me a new title.
You gave me a new title. Leave it to us. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You're like, let me go through this. But there is a disproportionate number of cases, and the impact and the severity of the cases. We have some folks on here from New York as well, that have impacted our community. What are some of the reasons, as it relates to Delaware and also outside of Delaware, because I think it duplicates itself. Mm-hmm. What do you think that is attributed to?
Well, as far as us being disproportionate, it's lack of, and I hate to use this word, but is institutional racism, lack of information coming into our community. We have to understand, and please do not take this the wrong way. And I tell people all the time when I teach, institutional racism is alive and well. Yeah. Okay. The information that they're dispelling out regarding COVID-19, they're not telling us the truth. In our community, we have people who suffer from sickle cell. We have diabetes. We have high blood pressure, hypertension. You name it, we got it, right? But they tell you that, if you have respiratory problems, you could be a victim of COVID-19. If you have, if you get a cold, or if you have diabetes, or but are they bringing the information rightfully to the community? People feel to realize people with sickle cell have low immune system also.
Yes.
Right. And that's something that we have now looked into. Blood transfusion is what we need for sickle cell victims. And if they contract the COVID-19, it's an end game. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing to fight them off, and they need blood. So we have to understand that in our community, we don't give blood. Okay. Because many of us are anemic.
Right.
Because we don't eat the right thing. We don't take vitamins. We feel that we eat fried chicken and collard greens. That's our greens. That's our vitamin there. But we fail to realize we have poor eating habits.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I love me some fried chicken or collard greens and macaroni and cheese with all that butter and all that stuff. But that's still poor eating habits, right? We're clogging our arteries. We're not healthy. Our diabetic numbers are going skyrocket. So, of course, our number's going to be higher when it comes to the COVID-19. I take a drive all the time, and I'm always in Southbridge. And you go to Southbridge, everybody's standing at the park, nobody has a mask, but they're all smoking. Is there any, and Henrietta Johnson is literally right around the corner from them.
Right down there.
Right there. So is there anybody from that community center talking to them in that park like, yo, you need to take care of yourself. You need to wear your mask. You need to wash your hands. You need to stay 6 feet away. No, they're not. So majority of those people are the ones that are contracting the disease, and lack of insurance, because they feel that if they go to the emergency room, they're going to get this high emergency bill, which is often the case.
Yes.
So they're like, you know what? We'll just doctor ourselves at home, and that's it. Our numbers are going to continue to rise until we get the information that we need in our community and stop institutional racism. Okay.
Absolutely.
And you want to go to why I'm running?
Come on.
These are some of the reasons why I'm running. We need to make sure that our community get the information first. We're not second-class citizens. Remember that. Okay? When they treat us like we're second-class citizens, it stops here. All right? I see it all the time. I'm in a community. You've seen me. I do a barbershop talk where we get the people in the community information that they need, because I'm tired of people saying, well, I didn't know this, and then you hear government say, well, we had the information, so why aren't you getting? Well, you're not bringing it to our community. You expect us to come and get it, and when we come to get it, you're afraid. You treat us like we're getting ready to rob a place, or cause a commotion, so therefore you don't share the information. Right? We have to stop. We need to start putting people in place that can take care of our community.
Yes.
All right? We need to. You cannot expect people that don't look like you and me to do for you and me. Understand that. I do a barbershop talk every month for the past 7 years. We've been doing a barbershop talk. We take the information to our communities that are overlooked. Okay? We did a barbershop talk this year. And it was at a historic barbershop on Bennett Street. That barbershop had been there forever.
Yes.
And the information that we brought, and I had one of my good speaker, Corey Priest, came out to speak to people about expungement. Now, what community needs that information? Our community.
Our does, yes.
But it didn't know anything about it.
Yep.
I brought Corey in, and Corey spoke to them, and people were like taken back, like, we didn't know this, but yet it's been happening. Our people need it, but you know what? Let me tell you something. If you have not made a place comfortable for us, we are not going to come and get that information. You want us to come to the courthouse, but we're afraid because we have capiases. We're scared that if we come in, you might arrest us. We've had bad situation going to the court, so therefore we don't want to show our face. So how are we going to get the information?
Right.
How are we going to get the information?
Yeah.
People, I tell people all the time, we are really dying because our information is not coming to us. Stop institutional racism.
There is, and there was a comment up here that we got lots of comments coming in. I love this. Okay, so this is back to COVID. I believe some of us have it and are building up antibodies. In New York, I feel like little pieces of the virus keep showing up. It's absolutely true. Yes. Some of us are fighting it off like a bad cold. Others are hospitalized. Her brother is a mail carrier and has controlled diabetes and was hospitalized. Wow. So, it's sad. It manifests itself in so many different ways, and you need to be aware of that. There's a question. Okay, if a person is quarantined, what makes the virus leave without meds? So,
I'm not a medical doctor, but I did have a cousin that was quarantined. He got he had corona, and we quarantined him for 14 days. It doesn't. I don't believe that the virus leaves your body, because that's why we have antibodies in our bodies that build an immune system, because it's just like the flu. In order to get over the flu, you must have some of that virus in you to fight. That's what antibodies are. I really believe that, but it helped him being quarantined, where he's not getting having other people breathe on him. He breathed on other people. He's not exerting himself. He's relaxed. He didn't go to work for 14 days. He wasn't running up and down. He wasn't, he was sleeping more, and all that stuff. And after 14 days, he didn't even go to the doctor. He was fine. So, I don't know, because I'm not a medical doctor. I can only tell you what we did for my family member. But, everybody's symptoms are different. Yes. And what Rebecca said about the virus being where, we have to treat it like a common cold. Last year, October, I thought was the flu. I had the shakes. I had the fever. I couldn't eat. I was vomiting. This was last October.
Yep.
Went to the doctors. They did the flu swab, put the stuff up my nose, and I didn't have the flu. But at that time, they were not looking for COVID-19 for the virus. So what's to say I may have had it back then, or, but my body healed and dealt with it at that time. I don't know, because it wasn't the flu, but it was all the symptoms that they're talking about now. Right?
Exactly.
Like 6-7 months later, or well, I want to say about 8 months later, so we don't know. But my best bet, I tell everybody, when you're unsure, call your doctor.
Absolutely.
Call your doctor.
That
Ask
could be the
all the
first
questions you
cold.
can ask.
Yes. Yes. Everybody thought it was the flu. And I know I worked in an office, and people were hacking and coughing. And I
Yeah,
tell you,
last
I
year
was like,
it was
this
horrible
ain't
last year.
right. This is not right. So you and this is the other thing. You need to use your own intuition and make your own decisions. Just because somebody said the state is open, the beach is open, the store is open, it's open, why? Unless you have to. Okay. And this weekend was a little bit different with the protests. People had their masks on and they were taking precautions. It's an unusual situation, but nonetheless, we still need to make those decisions on our own.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't nobody need to tell me I need to get away from those people? And this is the kind of thing that our nurse, Miss B. Baylor, says we have been infected as early as November and December.
I believe you, Miss Baylor. I really do because, like Tanya said, last year October, literally, it was September, October. I was at at my doctor's office, and all he did was gave me some. He said, what was it? Antibiotics, or no, I'm sorry, I can't take antibiotics. It was some medicine over the counter he gave me that I took, and my fever went away. I
Mm-hmm.
rested. I drank, old fashioned remedy drink, a lot of orange juice. Rest yourself, and that's what I did. You
Yes.
know,
And so we need to be aware of that, as a community. So many of us do not have access to the same level healthcare because, we may not have insurance, we may not have the information. There's an accountability on our part to get the information and share it. Okay. And share it. This is another great point. Our body can heal itself without traditional meds. We
Mhm.
have to learn to heal ourselves. Like you said, don't wait for somebody to come and save us. We must
Save.
save ourselves. We must save ourselves. And that's kind of what's happening. That's kind of what's happening now, Aja.
Mhm.
Let's talk about Black Lives Matter.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I know you're speaking specifically to Delaware, but the institution has been established for, I keep saying, thousands of years.
Mhm.
Okay. And so tell us about the impact of that, from your view, and the kinds of things that, have given you the impetus to run for president of city council.
Okay.
County
County
council. I'm gonna get it right. County.
council. So, I mean, what has happened? I'm floored by what has happened of late with since George Floyd's death, murder, and how the community has embraced it and really are ready for change.
Mm-hmm.
In 2010, when Obama came out with the My Brother's Keeper, Delaware had a charge. I remember Dennis Williams at the time, who was the mayor, had wanted to put something together.
Mm-hmm.
And they were fumbling around to see who can be the best person to help them. They were putting together a group of like-minded people to come up with a solution to My Brother's Keeper. And someone had referred me, who had knew me from what my work with my fatherhood group, and referred me to that. And that was in 2000. Was it 2010? When was Mayor Williams was mayor? Was 2000? No, it was 2015, 2014.
14. Okay.
2014. And so I was chosen by the then President Obama to come on this task force to help Dennis Williams and a bunch of great like-minded people, and I was tasked to write the restorative justice piece and
Mm-hmm.
teach that. It was October 10th, I think, of one of those months. But that's the same day they had the March on Washington. And when I did it, and people who do not know what restorative justice is to repair the harm caused by crime in your community, and showing and teaching people how to move on from systemic racism and crimes and injustices. So when I saw all these rallies going on, I was so impressed, that, you know, our fight was not in vain. Our younger millennials are not taking up that cross. They're picked it up and they're walking with it. And I think they're going to be the ones that's going to really make change. Because like I tell people, yeah, Martin Luther King marched. There were so many people that marched for the civil rights in the 60s. So many of us marched in the 80s and in the 70s. And now, just from this, I've seen how our millennials have turned this thing around for good. And I am so impressed. Now, talk about injustice. I have always been someone who spoke against inequality, and in diversity and inclusion, how important it is to have that on every level of government, every level of employment. I think is very important. With that being said, I'm hoping that people understand how important it is that we have that level of diversity when they're going to the polls on September 15th and in November. It is so important to understand that all of these marches that we're doing ends on election day, depending on who we vote in and how they change our laws moving forward.
Yes.
I hear a lot of police officers and police chiefs say we're going to change the status quo, and we're going to retrain our police officers, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Are they just blowing smoke up or are they speaking the truth? Right? We have to hold their feet to the fire. We have to hold them accountable. In order to hold them accountable on what they have said, we have to make sure that our legislators come together, form a bill, make it a law that would change the education process when it comes to recruiting our police, training our police, making sure that there's enough policing in the communities. I mean, all that stuff starts with your local government, right? I love the fact that we're marching. I love the fact that we're protesting. But when I see action, when I see change, then I'll feel good. Right? That's how I see it. I mean, it took us to march. It took us to rally. It took us to loot. It took us to do all that before his sentence was moved from third degree to second degree. He should have been charged from the beginning at second degree. Why charge him at third degree? And then because the community or the people at large are upset, then you decide, okay, let's revisit his sentencing. Let's revisit his charge. Oh, now it's second degree. We had to march. We had to loot. We had to pretty much put ourselves in harm's way so you can arrest the other three police officers. You should have arrested them in the beginning. Now, let me tell you something, Tanya. I'm an arbitrator. I'm a first-time offender arbitrator, and I arbitrate cases for people who have been who stole or who offended for the first time, right? If you and I, two Black women, go into a store, I steal something, you don't. Do you think you're going to walk out of there? No. They wouldn't let you go home, sit home, arrest me, let people rally and stuff and protest before they come and get you. You're already an accomplice.
Absolutely.
You're not even going to think about it twice. You were there, even though you didn't steal nothing, but you were there with me. You're an accomplice. So therefore, you're going to be charged just as much as me. Why did you let those three officers go home, stay in their home, do what they want to do? Because you fired them, so you thought, okay, this is it. But you see, when they say fire, there's pension, there's termination with pay, there's a lot of things that was done, but we didn't know that.
Yes.
So we have to understand, all of this rioting is great. Protesting is wonderful. We're speaking. Our politicians are coming out. They're talking. Our pastors are preaching. We love that. But let's hold our politicians to the fire, and let's make
Absolutely.
sure we change the laws that govern our police officers. Make sure we have enough policing in our community that looks like us, because I am tired of having police officers come to a Black and brown community that don't look like us, that don't understand our pain, and try to arrest us or try to govern us. And then they tell us, oh, you're being aggressive. I'm going to shoot you today, but I'm going to go to my white neighborhood and take and go to sleep peacefully while your
Mhm.
family is trying to scramble and wonder what just happened.
Mhm.
I'm tired of that.
Yes.
I'm tired.
There's
We talked about, I'm sorry.
no. Go ahead. This is for you, honey.
I'm a professor and I teach conflict resolution,
Mm-hmm.
mediation skills, and corporate conflict. It's important. Yesterday, I was asked to give a brief synopsis to a group of panelists on a Zoom call on implicit bias. I teach that as well. Implicit bias is something that we all have.
Yes.
Every last one of us have our own implicit biases. But it's understanding and accepting and knowing that you have that in order to move on. So until our police officers learn and have implicit bias training and conflict resolution training, it's going to still happen. Because you know what? They need to understand how to resolve conflict peacefully without taking out that gun and shooting. They just shot a kid because he had a hammer in his pocket. Does that say he had a gun? Because you thought he had a gun? You're so quick. Your implicit bias has caused you to kill another innocent person. Why?
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
Why are we still doing this? We can march from day to doomsday. We can rally, we can loot, we can do whatever. Until we teach these people how to understand that they have implicit bias and how to act on it and change their mindset, it's going to continue to happen because they still have that fear that Black people are aggressive. Black people are animals. Black people are uncontrollable. Okay? And that's not the case. Look at George Floyd. You arrested him. You came to the site based on the fact that you had a disorderly conduct call. You came, you pulled him out of his car, you handcuffed him. He stood on that wall. He was calm. He wasn't swearing. He wasn't pushing you. He wasn't resisting. How he ended up being dead, who knows? Until we saw that tape.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Understand me, people. Until our police officers go through the right training. And that is why I'm running on the fact that we need to do more for our public safety.
Yeah.
Okay. We need to improve it. We have some great police officers. I mean, today I was at Middletown. I ran into the chief of for Capitol Police. I've known him for years. We went to college together. We were just talking and laughing. You know, I love the police officers, but we need to protect them and we need to protect the citizens. If they're well informed, well trained, they don't have to worry about the citizens being vigilant and brutal to them. Okay. Yes, legislatures need to change our laws. We need to push them the envelope. We need to hold their feet to the fire. It's important, you know.
As much as this has been a wake up call for others, it's a wake up call for us as well. Okay. It's a wake up call for us as well.
Mhm, mhm.
For a variety of reasons. And we could be on here a long time and pick out the reasons. you know,
That's for another call.
right. Yeah. Okay. And actually those things need to be addressed.
Mhm.
Distractions our stress level,
Yes.
we're not employed, we don't have sustainable employment. There's no equity in how it is that we're paid. Why is it at this point in my life somebody is still making more than me and I have 4 to 5 years experience? Okay. Why does that happen? And I had on this piece of paper, implicit bias. Implicit bias. So now that's the kind of downloads that are happening, And I do have to say, for those who weren't on yesterday, I had arranged, having Aja on weeks and weeks ago. It was weeks ago. And, because I've just, like I said, I've watched her for 20 years. Okay. And, knowing that she was running for an office, I really wanted to share this platform, with her. But for just a time as this, okay,
Mm,
the things that you're talking about, one thing I'm specifically saying, Newcastle County has pockets of poverty, blight, and crimes, which
yes.
is why community policing is extremely important.
Excellent.
Okay, from day one, this is public safety, all right,
Mhm.
is something that you're going to be working on. This
Yes.
is not just because people were marching yesterday or,
Mm.
all week long. This is a, this, I'm telling you, I do a little research.
I see. I see.
I did a little research because, it's so important for people to know and understand why. So, like I said, before you pull that lever, you want to make sure that you understand. Don't just listen to what people have said, watch what it is that they have done.
Definitely.
And whether it's implicit bias or not, okay, you can start out and just have a trigger to do something, but we're grown folk here,
Yes.
okay, you know right from wrong, all right, and you know very well that when you go into our community that you are treating us differently, and this is a leadership issue.
Yes.
Okay, this is a leadership issue.
Mhm.
They put us in positions of leadership, or they allow us to get in there and then they box us out.
Mhm.
Okay, they send us off on some tangent. We don't have the support that we need, and we're still there pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yeah.
So what I want you to share with us, Aja, is your platform. Okay, it's so important that people understand what it is that you've been talking about doing for a long time.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, my biggest thing, and people who really, really know me, like yourself, know how passionate I am about criminal justice and how passionate I am about making sure our police officers are met with the respect and dignity that they need and deserve, and that they can also employ that into the communities. I strongly believe that community policing needs to come back. I strongly believe that we need more diversity on all of our police forces, whether it's Wilmington, Newcastle County, and state trooping. We need that because Delaware as a whole, not even Newcastle County, but Delaware as a whole, demographics have changed. The
Yes.
diversity is increasing, especially in Newcastle County, which
Mm-hmm.
has the largest number of populated people within the state, even though it's the smallest county, but it holds just a little over under 60% of the population in
Wow.
Newcastle County. And that population has grown, and people of Black and brown people have moved into the area. So I think it makes sense to make sure that the policing is diverse and it represents the community at large.
Yes.
We really need to improve on our training facilities and our training tactics for our police officers. I am, from day one, when I do get elected and get in there, we need to change our teaching. Like I tell you, implicit bias,
Hmm.
restorative justice, conflict resolution. Those are three things that our police and diversity and inclusion training, our police officers of all race needs to understand and push for that. Another thing I really like to do is I love the libraries in Delaware. Delaware has some of the most beautiful libraries in the world. However, as an educator, we need more. Kids are not in tune with the libraries because they feel like that is not where it's happening.
Mm.
They're on their texting or computer. They're not reading as much, right?
Right.
There's ways to repurpose our libraries. We need to bring that back. Reading is fundamental, right? They may not come and open a book, but there's other ways to bring them back into the community, bring them back into the libraries. The arts, we need the arts.
Oh
We
my
have to
goodness.
repurpose our libraries. Bring in the arts. I remember when I was younger, I used to go to the library and learn how to play the accordion. Yeah, I play accordion. I only knew three strings on the accordion. That was it. But I did it, right? We need to repurpose that. We need to bring in community services like entrepreneurial hubs, job resume building, trainings, little things that's going to bring people within that community into that facility. One library I like to talk about is the Route 9 Library.
Yes.
That's a beautiful library, but it's underutilized.
Yes, it is.
And I say that for a library to be in that community, we need the people in that community to patronize that library.
Mm-hmm.
I do my research. I talk to a lot of people in that community, and one thing they said, well, we're not going there. The police officers are in there. Why should we go there? Because they already think we're a troublemaker when we get there. And I don't like that because it's such a beautiful facility. We
It's
need to use that
beautiful.
facility. Beautiful facility. But a lot of the people are afraid of being, same thing, having an implicit bias because now they're thinking that the police officer is going to attack them or disturb their peace or just hinder them from entering the building. So therefore they tend to stay away. We need a lot more programs. Another library that I love to visit that has repurposed is the downtown library.
Yes, it has.
It has really repurposed, and if you see it, there's a lot of things going on in that library. They're bringing things that engage the community. That's what I want. There's so many things that you can do without you can repurpose the library without touching the budget, and we can do that. Yes, a lot. I'm in tune with several libraries throughout the country. I have talked to the director of the National Library Association, actually the president. I've talked to our librarians here, the director of the Wilmington Library. There's so many ways that we can repurpose our libraries without touching the current budget.
Yes. Imagine that.
Yes.
Imagine that.
But you have to think outside the box. And look at you. You're like, oh, I just had an epiphany. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. But people who are not really in tune with that and not involved in that will not think outside the box.
No.
So we have to, like I said earlier, think about our communities. Our communities are not getting the resources that they need.
Right.
Okay? If they won't come, if we can't take it to their community, bring them to the library where they can get the resources that they need. We have communities that are surrounding libraries where English is a second language. Why not have an ESL class at the library that's going to encourage them? Okay? Come on. All right? I mean, there's so many things that we can do. We're getting away from what a library is for. We are really getting away from it. And that's not fair to the communities that's around that library.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I focus, and on my platform I had talked about Clean Green Plan for parks. And what a best time to talk about that.
Yeah.
COVID-19, right? It's the time to start being protected. It's the time for us to start recycling more now because we don't want this pandemic to happen again. We're trying to make sure our air is clean, our surrounding is clean, that our children are in a safe place to play. These are things now, because when I said it, when I started running and I was saying like, oh, come on, that doesn't make sense. Ta-da! Here we go. We have COVID-19. What better time to think about making our parks clean, green, using recyclable materials and biodegradable materials. We have dogs. Everybody has dogs, but the dog poops are everywhere. I just found out that you can use the dog poop as biodegradable products for fertilizer and a whole bunch of stuff, right? Believe me, since I started running, I'm doing a lot of research. We have areas that need dog parks.
Yes.
We need dog parks.
Mm-hmm.
If we're trying to have a clean, green area to be safe and play for our children, bring in dog parks. Those are some of the things that we need to talk about. Really do. Our farmland, our development in Delaware, our open space. Talk about that. There's more development going on in Middletown than anywhere.
Yes,
right?
there is.
Middletown is overgrown, but yet it has space. But let's talk about the distance between the development and your nearest gas station.
Ooh.
Or the distance between the development and your nearest supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to someone in an older development in Newcastle yesterday, and they're like, well, we only have one supermarket, and that saves a lot. We need an Aldi's. We need a ShopRite. We don't have that. One supermarket to a community that has about maybe 20,000 people, that's not fair. That's not fair at all, right? So we must understand our open space. We have to talk. We have to negotiate. I'm a negotiator. I'm a mediator. I've been mediating for years. I am a hearing officer. I negotiate deals, new deals, union deals, divorce, custody, child support. I do it all. I do arbitration for employment arbitration. I do civil rights mediation. So, what better person to get in there and know how to
Talking
negotiate
about.
deals that's going to bring jobs to Newcastle
Mm-hmm,
County?
mm-hmm.
That's going to bring what people need: supermarkets, employment. You know, there's too many things that you need, but you need a great negotiator at the table, right?
Absolutely.
And that's
And someone that isn't going to just pass on the old deals
oh,
that were there from before. Because I'm gonna talk about it now, Aja.
we're done with the old Delaware way. And I keep telling people, my name is Ajavon. My name is not one of those big names that you've heard around Delaware that people just doing the same old good old boy network Delaware deals. Stop it. We're moving into the century, the newer century now. Those old
Mhm.
deals, let's relook at them. Let's
Absolutely.
renegotiate, right? And next time when we renegotiate, make sure you have a good diversity supervisor that will bring in people of diverse backgrounds, right?
Absolutely. There's a
Because that's what
whole
we're struggling, we're suffering with. Delaware, like I said, Delaware, I moved here 21 years ago, almost 22 years ago. The diversity in Delaware, the people that have moved here have changed. The
hmm
diversity is growing. But when you go to certain jobs, you'll probably see like maybe one Hispanic, one Black. That's not good.
That's
That's
not good.
speaking to the people at large. That's not.
Yeah.
Let's try and make a difference, people. Let's change that. We need to keep there's so many things, Tanya, that we need in Newcastle County, and we have to start small and grow. And we need someone in that office that can really go in there and work with the council members.
hmm hmm
Because let me tell you something. I've talked to majority of the council members, and they're great people. Don't get me wrong, they're great. But decorum is what's missing. When it comes to decorum, how to conduct yourself in a meeting and how to conduct yourself and represent your constituents,
Good.
something that is lacking.
hmm
Okay. Where
hmm
there's 13 of us, there's 12 council members and the president, and we all have to work together to make sure that our constituents' needs are met.
hmm
No one is above the law. The president is not above the law. The council members are not above the law. But the president is there to listen to the council members and vice versa in
hmm
order for them to work together. It's
Absolutely.
important. There's nobody that's going to be their boss. And let me tell you something. You can talk to any one of my staff. They'll tell you, I'm not your boss. We work together because you know what? If the company fails, we all fails.
We all fail.
If it
Absolutely.
grows, we all grow, right?
That's what I was
If I
talking
don't make
about.
money, you don't make money. When
Except.
I get in that office, we work together. I don't even want the title of the president. I am there. Aja is there to oversee the meetings and also work with the council
hmm
members. But we are going to work together in unison and try to bring a consensus where we can come to a resolution. And I tell people, we can agree to disagree. Accept that. Not everything you say I will agree to. Not everything I say you will agree to. But let's respect each other and move on.
Absolutely.
Back to it.
Absolutely. This
All
is what I'm talking about. This is real leadership. This
yes.
is leading from the servant position.
Mhm.
Okay. And in doing so, that is how we are able to benefit. I just had to put Rebecca, this is my girl from New York. So if she were in Dallas, she would yes.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Absolutely,
You're
absolutely.
welcome.
There are a
Thank
couple of other questions,
yes.
and I'm interested in this one too. Why are there police officers in the Route 9 library?
Your question is
Oh my God.
just like mine. Let me tell you something. I mean, I've been thinking about that for the longest, right? Why is there a police officer in the Route 9 library? I mean, that's a police station. That's just police patrolling. There is a police station in there. I mean, they come in there. They have an area that they sit in, and I was really taken back when that happened, because I have programs in the Route 9 library, and a lot of my guys don't come in because of that. And those are the people that I hear it from. I don't want to come in because when I come in, I'm looked upon like, I'm getting ready to start something. And, understand the guys that I deal with are ex-offenders. They're coming out of prison. So if you're coming there to do court smart and people are looking at you, especially the police officers, are looking at you funny or expecting the worst, you're not going to want to return.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know why the police officers are there. I have a inkling of why they're there, but I won't, I don't want to say it until I'm sure of why. And that's a great question. I can present that question to whomever is in charge of placing them there.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you because that I talks with Tanya. That's what we do. We talk. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, it's because of the perception of the neighborhood that it's in. That's why. And I suspect that before money was allocated there, all right, there were some other people with some implicit biases that said we need to put a police station there. Okay, Tanya Bain is my name, and I'm the one that said it because we talk on Talks with Tanya. Okay, that's why.
Tanya, you're absolutely correct. That's probably one of the reasons why, and that has crossed my mind because of the neighborhood that it's in. But you're not engaging, and you're not encouraging the neighbors to patronize the library.
Exactly.
Because you've already had that implicit bias idea in the beginning that, okay, this is what you're expecting them to do this because of your own ignorance and because of your own biases, that you're expecting this community to be vigilant. So therefore we're going to put police there in order to stop it, but that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair. You can have a patrol officer around, but to have a police station in there, that's not fair.
Mm-mm. It's not necessary, but it's that institutionalization that says, "Oh Lord, we're gonna spend some money in the neighborhood, okay? And we better protect it." That's such nonsense.
It is, and the funny thing about it, Tanya, they just opened a bank in Rose Hill Community Center, which, if that's the case, the bank wouldn't have opened there if they were so afraid of the community in Rose Hill. You'd have probably opened it across the street or whatever. But, I don't know what the thoughts were behind this. I do know that Christopher Bullock did fight for the library to be there. As far as the finalization and to include the police officers, I don't know whose decision that was, but I don't think that was a wise decision, to be honest with you, because people are very afraid of coming in. The kids, when they ride their bikes outside, and kids will be kids. I'm not saying some of them do the right thing, because I go out there and I scream at them too. They'll come there, they'll bring their bikes, they'll pop wheelies or whatever in front of the libraries. But it's up to us as adults to right the wrong and teach them. And some kids, there might be 10 kids out of there, and 8 will listen, but the other 2 will probably flip you off or call you something outside the world. But still, right? You're getting to 8 out of 10.
Absolutely.
Tell them what's right and wrong. Encourage them. I remember when I started there, I was doing peer mediation for the kids in the community. I would teach them how to resolve conflict when they go to school, teach them how to resolve conflict in their community. And it was doing great. But then the kids started acting up. Police started stopping them from coming in, and we lost our numbers. So we stopped doing it.
Those are the kinds of things that need to change. And in my mind, these are the kinds of things that we can do. So what I believe is happening, Aja, now is people are just waiting for stuff to die down. People are making promises, just to shut us up, okay, or to protect themselves personally, or to maintain their position somewhere. And we'll see what happens with that, but it's up to us to keep the pressure on. And I say this over and over and over again. I learned this in corporate America. All right. If you're going to have an effective strategy, you need to have multiple phases of that strategy. So you do things that, that handle the immediate. Yes. Okay. And then you do some short-term planning. All right. And then you do some longer term planning, and then you plan for the sustainability of it. All right. But it requires us as a community, no matter where it is you're from, okay? New York, Texas, wherever, Oklahoma. I got folks on here, wherever it is, that's the strategy. But it's going to require that we do whatever that work is, whatever that work is. So it cannot just be you. All right. Every single person that was out for a protest this weekend has a responsibility to now do something.
Mm-hmm.
Volunteer at the library. Take your van to pick up some kids, okay? And take them to the library. Get together with your neighbors, all right? And say, you know what? This week I'm gonna take the kids to the library. You go ahead and do your little spa day, whatever it is. But as a community, we need to be engaged in the solution. Because if you are not part of the solution, if you're not putting some money on the table, okay, and we're going to talk about some money in a minute, all right? If you're not putting some money on the table, all right, and if you're not putting, some skin in the game, all right, I'm only going to sweat so much, all right, but I'm going to talk about it. If everybody isn't doing what it is from their lane, then we are doomed, okay, to repeat the same mistake.
Yes.
To do the same mistake. So I urge you, each and every one of you listening, there is something that you can do. There is something that you can do. You can give to Aja's campaign. Imagine that. And Aja, how do we do that? How do we give to your campaign?
Yes, please. To run a campaign costs money. And I do appreciate that. You can go to www.ajavon.com/donate. There's 4 different ways to donate. You can donate via Act Blue. You can donate via Cash App. You can donate via PayPal. And you can also mail in your donation to our campaign headquarters. So it's www.ajavon.com. Oh, she has it there /donate. It goes right to our donation page, and there's all those information listed. And then you can hit the return button on that same site, and that'll take you to the actual website so you can read more about me. And if you have any questions, please email me. I answer all of my emails. You can go on my Facebook page. I answer all of my messenger. And I'll give that to you is facebook.com/Ajavon, the number 4, capital N as in Nancy, capital C, small O, capital P, R as in rabbit, ES.
Okay, so I got Ajavon 4.
NCC County.
Okay.
Prez.
Is there / after the 4?
No, it's / no, there's no / It's
okay, just NCC County, OUNTY.
No, not OUNTY, just O. It's CO.
Okay, got it.
NCCO. P, capital P as in Paul, R as in rabbit, E as in Edward, S as in Sam. So it's just Ajavon for NCC
County Press. Got it.
You got it. So Prez is capital P and RES is small letter. But I think that's good.
When I put it, I'm going to put it at the header of the comments. Okay. When I go back to Facebook. All right. Just look up Aja.
Yes, just look up Aja.
Or get in touch with me because I know who knows. Okay. I can connect you with who you need to be connected with. This has been a wonderful discussion. I am so glad that you were able to join us, Aja. I thank you. I'm telling you, I need a nap after watching where you were this week. I have.
I love what I do in the community, and it's funny because today we're supposed to do a Zoom, at 6 o'clock,
I
and
saw that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and we were having difficulties connecting because we finally know how to connect Zoom to Facebook, but I lost a couple of people, so we just it was just a mess. And I had a gentleman that came in on the Zoom call, and he's like, I don't know if this is the right platform, and I'm like, okay, you're here now. What is going on? He said, well, I was referred to you, to you because someone said that you or I was looking for an organization to help fathers, and you came up and they told me to go on your page, and he was calling from some state, and I was like, okay, yeah, you got the right person. But this is a Zoom conversation about what's going on in the community, and letting people know about the marches and stuff. And I said, well, you're more than welcome to to join us. He's like, oh, well, I only call for that. I said, well, okay, then call me back after I get off this, you know. But the thing is, I'm running a campaign, but I cannot stop doing what I do,
Yes.
because I get
Yes.
calls from fathers. We had a couple of months ago, we had the Child Support Services director, Ted Murmago, on there because we get so many calls from fathers who are single fathers paying child support, and we're concerned about the stimulus checks. And our community really didn't know about that. Like, what happens if you owe child support? Are they going to come after your stimulus checks? So I was able to let shine light on that and bring him on to let our community know, yes, they are going to take your child support, they're going to take your checks, because that was the only government agency that was not excluded
Right.
from interception, right? That's the only thing. If you owe the IRS taxes, they're not going to take your stimulus. But if you owe child support, they'll take your stimulus.
Mm-hmm. They'll
You
take
know?
your passport too.
Yeah. So we had to let them know, what was going on. Because again, institutional racism, they wouldn't have known that. You tell me I'm getting a $1,200 check, I'm happy, right? Until I find out I never got my check because it went to child support. So when they're giving out information like that, they need to be very clear and and concise, because not everybody received that stimulus check.
Mm-hmm. No,
You know,
they didn't.
no, they'll give it to the community. The immigrant population didn't get the stimulus check, especially
Mm-hmm.
those who are undocumented. They didn't get a stimulus check. But according to the government, when it was sending out the information, was everybody's going to get $1,200. They did not take into account the people who owe child support and people who were undocumented that was
Mm-hmm.
let go. They were laid off their jobs because of COVID-19, and a lot of them are migrant workers, or they work under the table, and how they're going to survive.
Exactly.
So I mean, there's so many things, Tanya, that is lacking. But we have to start small. We have to
Yes.
start in our local government, and
Absolutely.
until we vote the right people in that
Mm.
will make changes to our faulty system,
Yes.
and until we vote people in that look like the majority of the people that are underprivileged, until we vote people in that understand how and why we go through what we go through,
Mm-hmm.
until we vote people in that has walked in your shoes and my shoes, we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same old cycle. Because why? We voted him in, or we voted her in because we knew her grandfather and we knew his father. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the Delaware way. And they're white. You're black. We rather get the white man, the white woman, because when I was younger, they used to say white is right. I said, I
Hmm.
don't think so. My grandfather used to always tell me, that ain't true. Because they want you to think that black is bad and white is right. So if you see all those black and white Western movies, you see the bad guy in what? Black.
Mm-hmm.
The sheriff in what? White. Because that's what they think. But we need to change that narrative.
And
We
it's
need to change that narrative. I need
us.
everybody to go to the polls on September 15th.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting ready to post those. Getting ready to post those dates now. Let me just go back and I will say them. And I'm going to post them as well. Let me tell you, I've learned to maneuver this phone a whole lot better than I ever did. Okay, so I have June 9th
Yeah.
is the Christiana School District referendum. All right, why is that important?
Oh my God, it is so important for us to go and vote on June 9th, because I was on the call with the Christiana School District. There's so many things that needs to be done in the school. I don't teach elementary or secondary ed. I teach college. When they're done with all that, then they come to me. So I really feel for what's going on, and we really have to understand. Please vote. Come out and vote on June 9th for that referendum. It has to pass. It has to pass. In order to, if it doesn't pass, we might lose a school district.
Oh my goodness.
So I will understand. Please listen to me. Come out June 9th and vote. Okay.
Right.
We
And then
cannot
we have
afford to lose a school district in Newcastle County.
that's like ludicrous.
It is.
And then July 7th, we have a the presidential primary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is July the 7th. So I'm going to tell you something that I realized is that everybody doesn't understand the importance of a presidential primary. I guess they must have missed civic class or something. No, it's the truth.
It's true. Primary voting, period.
Okay. They don't understand that. So can you just give us a little kind of a mini lesson, Professor?
Sure. Primary voting is extremely important because that tells you that helps your candidate excel to the next level, which is to the general election.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, everybody knows that Biden is going to be the favorite candidate for the Democratic Party, but don't forget this primary. Bernie is still on
The ballot.
on the ballot. So when you go in the vote, and there are some people that will vote for Bernie, understand why you're voting. Bernie is an independent candidate, but because he's the only one running, that's why he runs on a Democratic ticket, on a Democratic primary, not a Democratic ticket, but a Democratic primary. Okay, so we want who we want to make sure that person beat out Mr. Whatever he is.
The occupants of the White House.
The occupants of the White House. Absolutely right. Which is now on Black Lives Matters Boulevard.
Yes.
So it's important. Just say by happenstance that Bernie is on that ballot and Bernie wins the primary. Joe automatically has a lesser chance of winning in other primaries throughout the country. So understand, primary voting is very important because that tells you how the numbers of voters that person need in order to be promoted to the next level.
Okay.
So July 7th, come out. There's several polling sites that are already out there. If you're unsure, go to the Delaware Department of Elections. It'll give you the list of polling sites that you can go and vote. And also, if you need to get absentee ballots, go online, go on the Delaware Department of Election and request an absentee ballot. And there are instructions on there as well.
Right. I just did that. The absentee ballot. We just did ours. So they can go to the Delaware Department of Elections. And will all of this information be summarized there? The dates?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's let me put it this way. If you have any difficulties, call them. Because sometimes it's very hard to navigate certain systems, and especially on there, you have to hit this tab and that tab, and it becomes cumbersome. So pick up the phone and call them, and they will help.
Okay. Call the Department of Elections. Call me. Okay. Message me. Send me a Facebook, whatever. Okay. I will get the information that is needed. This is so very important. If you're having any type of a Zoom meeting, you'll want to make sure that, it doesn't matter what the Zoom meeting is about. If it's your, sorority, if it's your Girl Scout troop, it doesn't matter. That civic engagement is our responsibility. Folks are counting on us doing the same thing. Okay. And if you always do what you always done, you always get what you always got. Okay, it is time to make a change. It is absolutely time to make a change. Aja, girl, you'll be back. Okay.
Definitely. Don't forget. Someone did say, Miss B said that tax dollars paying their salaries. And it's true, tax dollars do pay
Mm,
the police salary and also county members and president salary. So understand we have to work for them, right? So September
absolutely.
15th is the primary for our statewide election and county election. So
Okay, so
um,
that's your big date, September
that's the
15th.
big day. So I tell everybody my only election is September 15th,
Got you.
because Delaware is a primary, I mean, it's a Democratic state. So whoever wins that primary wins pretty much the seat. There is an independent that has filed. I think a libertarian or independent has filed, but that's in the general election. So please go on my website, read up about me. If you need to talk to me, call me. Ask me as many questions as you can. Get to know who I am. It's important. You don't want people in office just because, just because. You got to make sure they know what they're doing. You got to make sure they can represent you to the fullest. And I know I can do the job.
Yes.
So, September 15th, please go out, cast your ballot, go on my website, and please donate. We do need some money. We need
Absolutely.
volunteers, volunteers, volunteers.
Volunteers, volunteers, volunteers. You got it. You got it. All right. I'm continue to run this, okay, on a couple of my sites. All right. And I will, you know what I'll do? I'll just create a banner, a reminder banner, because I've gotten these important dates, for us to pay attention to. And like I said, if you're from another state, then you want to pay attention to what's going on.
Yes.
All right. If you're on this call, it's important for you to share that information, so that, we are aware and we can act on it. It's not just great to know, it's like you have to take action. All right. So that's what we're counting on you to do.
Definitely.
Aja, thank you, thank you, thank
Thank
you. All
you
right, we will be in touch. Stay right there. All right, my dear friends, thank you for joining Talks with Tanya. I will be back again on Saturday at 11 a.m. All right, and broadcasting on multiple platforms on Tanya Inspires and now on my personal page. Finally figured that out. And we are going to have one of the candidates for the lieutenant governorship. Yeah, the lieutenant governorship. She's your soror,
Yes. She's in
Danielle.
Dover.
Yes, so she'll be on, and then hopefully on Sunday, Senator Constance Johnson, or former Senator Constance Johnson from the state of Oklahoma. Last year she just ran for governor of Oklahoma. She's going to come talk to us about all kinds of things. Okay, how this is impacting, how important it is, and how we are really positioned to make a difference. So I'm really excited about that. And again, for such a time as this, I had just planned this, and God in the universe knew exactly what needed to happen now. Aja, I appreciate you. I thank you. Get some rest. To my friends and family out there, thanks for joining. Remember, join me next week on Talks with Tanya. And remember, stay inspired.
Yes. Thanks, Tanya.
Oh, sure.